a little bit of recovery in here on the day. It's basically more or less exactly what we talked about yesterday. We said, hey, if we do get a little bit of a pop, we might not get as a crazy recovery as we would expect off a 20-point drop, just because we weren't getting that inverse correlation between the gold and the bonds and the overall markets like we usually like to see a nice, swift and sharp recovery. But if we do get any sort of recovery in SPY, then obviously look for the QQQs to kind of double that, just because of where our tolerance and our expected move was. And if we do get a recovery, that it is going to be sharper and more, basically more exciting to play in here. And that's exactly what happened in here today. So nice little pop overall in the Qs, mostly thanks to AMD and Tesla. And we're going to focus on Tesla in here on the weekly chart. So more or less, what are we looking at in here for Tesla? We're trading right below that 410. That was an area as we were closing out the day that was a huge call wall for us in here. So if you're watching your GEX, especially on the today's expiration and then Wednesday's expiration, huge call wall at that 410, put wall at 400, kind of pinning everything, right? So even though we broke this morning, we were trading in those 395s, a nice little pop, quick recovery in here to that 400. We still kind of got pinned overall on the day, right? I know that we were trading in those 412s for a little while and things like that. But overall, we were more or less pinned within that $10 channel. So that is something that we're going to look for going forward. Are we going to get above that 410 tomorrow? And are we going to hold, or are we going to stay pinned in that channel, or are we going to break below that 400 psych level? Your overall call skew, I guess your overall skew was to the calls in here. That's mainly due to your net flow switching bullish in here about midday in here. A nice little pop. That's when you had that huge run up in the overall stock price in here in this underlying. Everything flipped bullish in here, and then your calls kind of ran with it. So all of a sudden your risk was to the calls in here, especially if you were looking at today's expiration, Wednesdays, and the next few expirations. They are all more or less the expected moves are all showing a little bit of a call skew in here. So going forward, where does that kind of put us here on this overall weekly chart? Well, obviously 400 is going to be the big psych level. That's right where this 50-day SMA is trading as well. That is going to be the level that does need to hold going forward. If not, nothing's going to save us until this lower trend line of this overall structure. And that's going to be right around that 375, 376 area. If we can hold the 400s, then first up, it is going to be that 410, just because that's what everybody was kind of dictating today. That's like we just mentioned, the GEX, your call wall was. It seemed like that had a lot of action, especially when we broke back down below. We had that pullback and we broke back below that 410 that last time. That is going to be the big barrier for us. If we can get above that, even as soon as tomorrow, then obviously that's our next support. And then to the outside, we're looking at 410, or I'm sorry, 414, and then that 441 area. So that was an area that we've been talking about for, it seems like, the beginning of the year. So that's kind of what was going on underneath. Remember, your GEX was kind of dictating those call and put walls. Your expected move is being priced in with a skew to the calls in here. So kind of keep that in mind as well as you're playing this thing going forward. And a lot of net flow was bullish in here. I guess the net flow was mainly bullish in here going forward. So kind of keep all that in mind as we go tomorrow. Is everybody just pricing in where the risk is, or is there more or less a better expected move to come, right? Is somebody seeing what we're not seeing, or is everybody just kind of protecting themselves to the upside in here just because they don't want to miss out on this sympathy run that we might get in Tesla from SpaceX, which their IPO is going to be this Friday. So let's see what happens in here. 400, obviously, that's the big level in here, but more importantly, 410 tomorrow, we're going to see how things act around that level for us going forward in here. Let's see how we continue throughout the week, and then see what kind of moves we get in our overall volatility with that expansion and contraction. And let's keep an eye on where our skew is going to be. Are we going to be having the risk on the call side or risk on the put side as we get closer to that SpaceX IPO? So let's see what happens in here as we continue throughout the week, guys. All right, guys, if you like this video, make sure to check us out on all of our social media. We also have a Discord service if you're interested, and you can find all of our socials in the description below.